He's got his costume. Wait, how do? Oh, here it is. So this is Zima's. If I pronounce it right, hopefully it tells us the pronunciation when I do his story. So this is what he usually wears, and this is the outfit from the new update.
Right when you want. Stop when you don't.
The throne of the Tsar is covered in heaps of gold and stains of blood. It is dwarfed by the furs and the frozen land.
Alright. So let's start with his story. We're doing the Anecdote. Back to Earth. Once we finish this, we'll probably do the UTTU catch up. Hey Millie, how's everything? How was your weekend? Alright, so there's 8 stages, so we'll start. Thanks. Oh, thanks for the 3 streak, last streak. Nah, I just woke up. I woke up from my nap. Low percentages today. So, stage 1, Sparrow in hand. It hides so well that not even a dog can find it. There's a hug. Two. Hey Abby, how's everything? 2 figures are reading, illuminated by the soft light of the library. They sit in comfortable harmony and tactic understanding between them. Also, Ella and Sonetta. The only sound is the turning of pages. It is a silence that will break as their mutual agreement ends. After all, this girl has a question forming in her mind. Excuse me, Mr. Zima. It seems the man is in a world of his own. He does not even notice her voice. The girl lowers her tone. It's shorter, urgent, and almost piercing. Mr. Zima. Wait, so they're both called Zima, and Zima snaps out of the trance. What?
My apologies.
Sorry. Maybe I shouldn't ask you here. But you have the most extensive knowledge of poetic imagery of anyone I know. I have a question that's been bothering me for a while. The chickadee on his shoulder shakes his head in surprise and takes flight. She takes no notice, fully focused on receiving her answer. I've been wondering, what is their interpretation of a sparrow in hand and a goose in the sky? Is it simply referring to these two animals literally, or does it include all the extended symbolism from previous work? Or perhaps, as the urgent some suggests, this is some kind of highly directable metaphor? Zima solemnly picks up a pen, preparing to write his response in a book lying open in front of him. Sonata keenly perceives his intent. Please don't do that. The chickadee tilts its head, seemingly confused, perhaps even a little annoyed. These books are from the Timekeeper's collection. If you write on its pages in ink, I'll spoil the experiment for the next reader.
Sorry.
It's not stone anymore. I forgot. It's because you don't have any blank paper. Here, use this notebook. Just like your pile of parchment, I've filled many notebooks. Writing down my thoughts helps me clear my head. Oh, thanks for the look, Panzer. I used parchment to write. Of course, parchment is a very good choice.
I'm not sure.
Oh, thanks for the look, vitamin. I think there's some over there. I'll look for it. Hold on. It should be here. Found it. When she turns around, a breath of cold air sweeps past her. The book remains open on the desk. The quill, its owner, and the chickadee named Emma has all disappeared.
What?
Mr. Zema? Did I say something wrong? Every time I ask him a question, it seems like he doesn't want to answer. Wait, Billy, what do you mean? What are you talking about, the tackle command? Oh, what she did? And what does he mean by stone?
Alright.
Wait, does that mean he's from the age where the writing was on stone? Well, I can take a look at his file. Maybe it'll help me avoid making the same mistake again. I'll just take a little peek.
Huh?
The file contains only a few pages, despite covering half of his life within it. To be continued. Stage 2. Whispers in Black Forest. The thick woods, glowing campfire, and plenty of agile and daring companions. Sonata stands under the overhead light, slowly reading aloud the words in her hands. In 1912, the poet was charged with insulting the highest authority. He was sent to eastern Siberia and then transferred through various prisons and eventually exiled to a solitary island. Also, he got So he got charged for his freedom. Well, I'm not sure if there was a freedom of speech back then, and I'm not sure which area uh, he insulted the higher authority was. Over the next decade, he lived there in isolation. His poetry was inseparable from the animal on the islands. In the forest, Zima sits on a rock in a clearing. A group of animals surrounds him, a small forest gathering. Believe not in the unbelievable, and touch not that which is not untouchable. A brown bear beside him places a thick paw on his arm, making the parchment in his hand wobble. Sir, please don't touch. There should be no pause here. It interrupts the meter. Ahem. Look not back on the path you did not take. Iron wings, a warning to the hunter makes, yet in his greed, he disregards it still. On his left, a fox paws his sleeve disapprovingly. Please behave. Wait until I'm done. Try as he might, he cannot reach his prey. Futile destroys his world this day. A sable drapes itself around his neck. It whispers in his ear. Yes, you're right. The hunter is simply incorrigible. And I'm afraid there's still many such people in the world. May they reap what they sow. In the background of this harmless scene, a reindeer shakes its antlers. Her descent nearly knocks the poet off the rock upon which he is sitting. Ah, miss! I understand. You're saying that the hunter is just trying to survive. I simply don't agree. It is out of vanity, not hunger, that he refused to return empty-handed. Are there truly gems in this pigeon's belly? The branches perched on cannot bear the weight of a man. The hunter aims to persecute the pigeon, yet it warns him. When he falls into the snow embraces him. Truly forgiving. Yes, it reminds me of... How can we not love Earth more than heaven? Nature is the fabric of our world. We are like potted plants, placed amidst its great garden. A chickadee flies from afar, landing firmly and accurately on his shoulder. Surprised and innocent, a pair of long-lost friends.
Zima?
So now we know the pronunciation if he said Zima. So Roland was correct when he gave me the pronunciation. My friend, you've been gone for so long. I had begun to think that you had fallen into a hunter's trap. The surrounding animals immediately becomes alert. But there's no hunter here. Just us. The chickadee shakes its head and chirps, displeased. It looks desperate for the full attention of his friends. What did you say? What? No, I... I should go. The news leaves him trembling. Zima, papers scattered to the ground, but he is too hurried to pick them up. He leaps down from the rock, puts out the fire, and disappears into the depths of the forest. His friends, of course, follow close behind. According to the poet's own account, the years on the island were marked by cold, bitter cold, and loyal companions.
Hmm.
Many friends. So I'm not sure. Like, did it seem like he was like the Snow White in the story with all the animals gathering around him? Many friends. By now, she has fallen into a nearby chair and is sitting in contemplation. Her gaze lingering on the file. These quiet years lasted at least until the mid 1920s, until a human journalist from the government set a foot in that land of the Far East. To be continued. Chapter 3, Self-Exile. We were not exiled. We volunteered to build our homeland far away. Part 3. Well, he's on the boat.
That's surprising.
It's so desolated. Compared to this place, Tobolsky is like the Leningrad of Siberia. There must be a bounty of untapped resources here. I'll be more focused on finding a place to stay if I were you.
May I ask?
In what direction is the nearest city? How far is it? Town? Town? There is nothing but prison here, lad.
What?
Prison? You heard me. Not even a pigeon was stopped to having this cesspit. So, where are these prisons? You're in one, mate. Ha, I get it. You're messing with me. Tsk, you came all this way and you don't even know a single thing about this place? You're dead meat. I just came here to investigate. Head south, or buy another ticket and come back with us. That's my suggestion.
No.
I can't. When will your ship come back again?
I'm not sure, Dad.
Sidebars are centrally managed. It could be 15 days, maybe longer. Until then, do your best to stay alive. The government's journalist discovers the poems and stories while searching for shelter. They were written on a piece of wood, stone, and scattered parchment. Elastic of his discovery, the journalist set out to identify the author and collect them all. Mr. Zima doesn't seem like someone who would handle something like this.
Oh dear.
If it weren't for these storm-paved roads, I swear, I would have been marked for this place as a no-man's land. In an opening not far away, Grudge Shack, some empty and collapsed, stretched out like lawn scar torn into the earth. At the center lies an extinguished campfire.
That's weird.
What about those people who were exiled about a decade ago? Did they all escape? In no surviving records, the end of the exile policy. But anyone who finds themselves in this environment must have constantly thought of escaping. Forget it. I'll look for traces for life itself. Maybe I'll find... Huh? The fire. It's still warm.
That's...
Is this... Half-burnt parchment is scattered around the campfire in a scene of attempted destruction. He picks up one sheet. Parchment paper with poetry on it, and still smoldering campfire. Someone is definitely here. Who could it be? Who would write poetry in a place like this? It is an amazing discovery. The next occurrence, however, is even more surprising. A bird swoops over and snatches the parchments from his hand like an eagle plucking a fish from the ocean.
Hey!
That's mine! I found it, you nasty little thing. Give it back! Humans who neglect to exercise are no match for wild animals. What this human now faces is a primary yet most difficult to resist ambush. Primitive but effective. It's orderly and prepared.
What's wrong?
What's going on?
Shoot.
How are there so many? The birds, dedicated to driving off the intruder, gives him no answer. Please, let go of my clothes. Where are you taking me? The parchment? I don't want the parchment. Give me back my notebook.
No.
No, that's the brush my mother left me. In such chaos, opportunities are fleeting. He must grab it and take it back what is his. You!
Stop.
Give it to me! Let go! The sudden surge of resistance deterred the birds for a few seconds. There's a brief pause in their attack, then a figure leisurely steps out of the woods. Zima. Please stop.
Sorry.
About your mother's brooch. Part 4. An easy discovery. Keep talking. Just keep talking. Regrow, yet no one knows. Like pollas in the winter.
That's.
Did you write that? It's beautiful, but
May I ask?
can you please ask your bear friend to stand a little further back? The huge brown bear stands stubbornly between the two, a mighty guard.
Sorry.
Mr. Medzerfsi, please stand on my left.
Oh.
Also, that's the bear's name? Or is it, it's only the bear. You can talk to them? More than that, we communicate.
Okay.
Okay, I have a few questions, and recommence of what you just put me through. Could you answer them for me?
Da.
Yeah, go ahead. Why did you come here?
What if?
If you prefer not to say, I'll ask a different question. There's a brief struggle in the poet's mind. Eventually, his rationality to end this quickly defeats his desire for silence. Because of a poem for the Tsar, I didn't want to write one. I say the Tsar? So you're the political prisoner who once walked green screen? I should have guessed earlier. But sentences maintained by the Tsar's government ended long ago. Didn't you know?
Sorry.
I don't understand. To me, there isn't much difference who I serve the sentence for.
Hmm?
Have you ever thought of going back? You should. You have no idea how great the motherland is today. He remains silent as the reporter blabbers on. The poet raises his head. As far as the eye can see, there's nothing but endless forests. Where is this motherland? No. I already belong here. So I'm guessing Sonata's reading his life story. The poet was not interested in the journalist's suggestion. However, the journalist did not give up, hoping to change his mind through persistence.
I see. Maybe that's just...
I hope this isn't the story of the hunter and that pigeon.
I think that.
Our cause could use the support of a consistent and compelling spokesperson like you. The turn of phrase, the imaginary, the metaphors, every line brims with an immense charm. Sir, even though you refuse to tell me your name, I must invite you again to return with me. I would be more willing to help you publish this work. If we bring back these manuscripts and transcripts the verse from the stone, your legendary experience surviving Devil's Island, enduring such a harsh environment, yet continuing to create in the face of it all, will surely capture people's attention. You are a living legend, the last of the old guard. If we return to Moscow, fame, money, and status will all be at your fingertips. The chickadee shakes his head in silent refusal. Zima shakes his head too.
Why?
No? Why? Isn't that what you want? She is clearly puzzled, so much for that he continues to inquire as to his reasoning. Or did you not actually write these poems? That's not important. Maybe I did write them. Or maybe Zima wrote them, or Mr. Mivelich. So this is either the chickadee or Mr. Bear that wrote the poems. They are just poems. That's all. What do you mean by that? Are you some sort of responsibility shafting liberal? What's that? And I have no legendary experience. Suffering should not be embellished and exploited.
But
You always have a sense of belonging to this place. You said so yourself. You fall in love with it, despise its wild, primitive nature. That being the case, can this experience really be considered suffering for you?
Sorry.
This is my opinion. You haven't seen those who died. The scorched earth, the collapsed shack, the desolated forest with few traces of humanity, the roof painted with blood-stained stones. Where did they come from? Is there anyone who remembers? Because of the cold, hunger, injuries, and despair. They are right under your feet.
May I refuse?
Go back? Alone. I decline your offer. Part 5. Returning with abundance. There's nothing more to be said. Please, don't follow me again. He turns around to leave, beginning to regret his refusal for Mr. Mivelich's earlier offer. Oh wait, so that's the name of that's the name of the journalist? I thought it was the name of the Dr. Bear, or Mr. Bear. The chickadee crouches on his shoulder, keeping a black, seedy eye on the journalist.
I'm sorry.
Sir, I have no other choice. When I arrived here, the boatman told me that it will be at least 14 days before the barge next docked. Until then, I really have nowhere else to go. So, head south. Wait, so what's in the what's in the south? Even the boat's keeper said that. Is there like a town there, and like he doesn't even know where to go? I'll probably die from hopelessness and exhaustion before I even make it. You see, all these things I have with me are just like my life, completely useless. To be honest with you, I come all the way here and found nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm totally clueless. Even if I manage to return alive, I'll be laughed out of the room by my peers. Every part of my horrible trip will become a total waste of time. So is this like the hunter where he doesn't want to leave because he's like empty-handed? He wants to at least get something. So it's something like that, like something like that metaphor.
It might be.
But if I follow you, and if luck is on my side, I might discover something new. You seem like a kind-hearted person. I'll ask my friends. I'll ask them to lead you to where humans gather. The chickadee jumps with satisfaction. It seems to be very much against his suggestion. Alright. He thinks hard, trying to find a way to satisfy everyone. Does it usually take this much energy to deal with humans? Maybe he should not have answered any questions in the first place. What do you want?
Here's the case.
You still don't get it, do you? All your problems would have been solved if you just agreed to let me collect some of your poems and stories. Look, if you agree to this, I have the motivation to leave the island. No need to worry about what comes after. I'll go back to minding my own business. No more following you around. Is that so?
Of course.
Yes. Then...
Da.
I agree. Take them.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I retain your right of authorship. I don't need credit. But the author must always be named, otherwise, what will the reader call you? The poet of Devil's Island? Actually, that doesn't sound bad. We'll see. He makes eye contact with the chickadee on his shoulder. A name slips off its tongue.
Zima?
Zima is good. The poet gave the journalist permission to take the sheets of parchment. But just when he thought that life would return to normal.
Huh?
Thought.
Oh?
So I'm guessing it didn't end? So it didn't then. Oh, my goodness. Oh, isn't that like it to be like a tourist attraction? More people embarked on the path of the island, paved with blood and stone, in search of his poetry, his stories, and him. The island has never been more crowded. The forest is filled with masses of people. They swirl and separate, bumping and shoving into each other like live sardines, withering in an open hand.
So?
Is this what the paper was talking about? Stone engraved with poetry and fables.
Of course.
It must be. This place is like a frozen wasteland near my hometown. If you don't work the lands until your hands are riddled with frostbite, then nothing comes to this place. It's amazing that Zima can continue to recreate here.
I heard that.
It's more than just amazing. It's downright unbelievable. I heard that Zima has been stranded on this island for so long that he can communicate with animals. He's almost a savage.
What if?
If someone can write poetry as great as his and considered a savage, then doesn't that make the rest of us all the more primitive?
It might be.
Maybe he survived by gathering fruits and hunting. The first person to report on the poet of Devil Island is the now editor-in-chief of the Truth newspaper, Servoden. He certainly didn't say anything about that, but He got the sheets of parchment that Zema's poetry and was promoted from investigative journalist to literary editor as soon as he returned. Last month, he sent all the sheets of parchment to exhibit. I saw them at the Blavatsky Castle. They were written in French and Russian and something that looked like Latin. So what you mean is to say is that Zema can write in 3 languages and therefore cannot be a true savage. He's a cultured savage. What an oxymoron. Nonetheless, I've been getting more and more curious. His collection of poems have been out for so long, but has anyone actually seen Zima in person? Are you implying something? Did you think that this is kind of elaborate hoax? I don't see why anyone would set up a hoax to increase tourism to, this place.
Isn't that so?
Besides, the poems on the parchment and the stones in front of us all seem so real, don't they? Anyway, I hope this is all real. I traveled here so I might see him in person. Javok's journey to the distant island. Already seems like a hoax to me at this point. The conditions here are much worse than the books described. Did you forget about the war? Well, Zima doesn't mention that in his work. The sound of the discussion echoes through the forest. The echo reached the ears of a neatly uniformed duo. A little way away. They are approaching. Oh, it's a Leon or something. The person living on this island must be quite extensive. I mean, engraving words on rocks by the sea? Trace of arcane skill on the beach? We even found writing on the cliffs in places where a pigeon couldn't perch. Although the traces are obvious, they are truly irregular. Interesting. Or maybe this time we will encounter a bear with several doctrines and serious social anxiety, like Mr. Michka. Don't make some erroneous guesses, especially about some boring nonsense. Quick complimenting and focus on the mission. There are even more arcane skill fluctuating here than on the cliffs. That proves we are on the right track. Where are these fluctuations? On the rocks up ahead. Part 6. Poet in the streets. Somebody has to tell the truth, right? The 2 Foundation investigators trud through the snow, like 2 cats with broken whiskers, making their way towards the rock. It's rather crowded. If we dug down right here, do you think we'll strike oil? I suggest we wait for the crowd in front of that rock to disperse a bit before we collect samples of the carving on it. Got it! You're the chief investigator, after all. What choice do I have but to listen to you? Even so, I'd rather we make decisions together. Understood. Not to interrupt, but there seems to be some commotion over there. By the... let me see. The biggest rock over there. I suggest we go over and see what's going on.
Nice.
Agree. As they approach, the sound of argument grows louder. The debaters are suddenly holding their ground. A crowd has gathered around them, awaiting the results of bated breath. But it wouldn't be impossible to develop this island, even so far from the mainland. After all, that's what several Tsars spent 200 years doing. So if these are fake, who is Zema's ghostwriter?
I believe
I still don't think he's a ghostwriter. Writer written on parchment or stone? There is amazing consistency and special warmth maintained in the language. It wouldn't be extremely difficult for the silly Delos to emulate it. I really like to meet the author. After a brief silence, the descendant speaks again, this time with words of phrase. He's actually quite honorable.
Hmm?
The savage, you mean? Think about it. If it's true that this person has been living here in the place for all these years, somehow she survived while writing beautiful poetry in the process, and for some reason, he never escaped or left, even after becoming famous.
What if?
On the other hand, if it's false, it means someone. It still means that someone has taken the time to scratch all these poems into stone and write in free language on those parchment paper you saw. It's quite a feat.
Yes.
Yes, from that perspective, it's remarkable nonetheless. It actually is. A consensus, however brief, has been reached. A new voice of dissent echoes from somewhere in the crowd. How disappointing. There's nothing remarkable. One could see this anywhere. Even a child could write this. Wait, so he actually appeared in the crowd? And nobody knows about him yet? The crowd seems to have ruined everything. They continually poured into the island, expressing their opinions about the engraved stones. They persistently searched for any trace of the poet's existence. But this time, the poet did not hide. He tries his best to get everything back to normal.
May I ask?
Excuse me, do you know the poet? How else could you make such a judgment? Anyone with eyes can see it.
Oh.
Then you have insulted not just the poet, but all of us too. These lines are so blunt and crude. This technique is superior. It's like sticking straw into a tundra and praising the land's vitality. Do you think you could write better? It's just nonsense carved into stone. Even you could write better.
Well,
I suppose you are the famous poet yourself. May I ask what work you've written? When I return, I shall seek them out and read them. This comment is met with a wave of laughter. During the conversation, the crowd was divided into two distinct camps. The instigator, who is very disparaging these poems, stands alone in the center, like Moses as he parted the Red Sea. The difference is that the Red Sea has not been parted to give way to him, but to allow them to confront him more fiercely. The chickadee perched on his shoulder, pressing against his neck, eager to evaluate the moment of speechlessness. Language, whether written by hand or spoken by the tongue, has never seemed so pallid as it does at this moment. In a shredded silence, a faint blue, icy halo appears beneath his feet. The howls of beasts and the cries of birds echo from the forest behind him. Look, the man in the middle. It's the same arcane fluctuation. He looks pretty much the same as the others. Is he the arcanist who's been carving things all over the place? He must be, and now we know why. He's a poet. Part 7. In the cold night. Listen. The sound of the heaven's flute draws near once more. Beneath the cliff, a hidden conversation quietly unfolds. Provided that conversation is understood in the loosest sense of the word.
I see.
We know you're trying to dispel the influx of people coming here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have risked that exposing yourself by coming out and disparaging your own work. Even you criticize your own writing as worthless. The people who are already here will not leave easily. Alright, We'll register you as a slightly extreme, reclusive arcanist. He's a poet. The chickadee flaps up and down uneasily. It's alright. Sorry, what did you say? I think he was talking to his bird. Oh, I heard about that. That some people can communicate with animals, like chatting with a pike while ice fishing. A well-meaning... A well-meaning fisherman is likely to master that skill. Or, have you learned the fairy tale? He's an arcanist.
So,
Therefore, I must remind you that your previous action violates the public security law. You may not have meant any harm, but they are dangerous nonetheless. The chickadees chirps fiercely, trying to argue with them. The poet remains silent. There's no need to be so serious. Nothing bad happened, did it? It's part of our job to handle these things before they become a problem. Alright. I think I mentioned when I introduced myself earlier that we are investigators from the St. Pablo Foundation. This is a routine investigation to locate arcanists. When we docked, we detected a large-scale fluctuation in arcane skill. Those carving the bizarre spots on the cliffs, you wrote those, right? But I didn't quite understand them. Don't pay any attention to him. Yes. A small gap opens in the stone wall. That is his silence, letting a shiver of light shine through. Those poems. You wrote them, right? They're beautiful, even though their location is a little strange. It is best to talk about poetry with a poet. It gives them some distance between themselves and their words, allowing them to speak more freely. Standing before the gaps in the stone, a happy expression at last appears on the poet's exhausted face. They're allegorical poems. I wrote them for passing birds to read. Right, so the birds would understand what he wrote? Or the animals would understand what he wrote? The investigators from the St. Pablo Foundation gave the poet another choice. A choice he had never imagined he would be presented with and was genuinely shaken by. Then, Mr. Zima joined the foundation. So, what was the choice? What choice did they give him? In summary, the St. Pablo Foundation can provide you with a quiet, safe, creative environment. Perhaps even an arcanist companion for you to talk to, and so on and so forth. If you have any special requirements, the specific terms can be negotiated further. Registration does not affect the arcanist freedom of movement. We simply need to know your whereabouts. Indeed. In fact, many arcanists like yourself who prefer to be alone agrees to be registered. After all, there's no harm in it. Why not take it over? Yes. I almost forgot to ask, what's your name? The chickadee flies from one shoulder to the other. It happily chirps a word, a name.
Zima?
Zima? Zima, right? Okay. I understand that this place might be more familiar to you than your motherland. The idea of the motherland is symbolic, after all. I'm sure you are more aware of that than most, given your literary learnings. Oh, listen to me. Whether you make a living with your pen or your hand, it's all the same. Anyway, you don't have to make a decision right away. We'll be staying on the island for some time. Yes, this area is yet to be explored by the Foundation.
it might be...
There may be other arcanists. Well, Zima would know, right? Since he's been there for so long. Zima knows there are no other arcanists here. He has touched every rock that the sea strikes along the shore. He spent countless nights under the moonlight, wandering through dark pines, and has sat by many campfires reading poetry. In the 6-month-long winter, amidst the fierce gusts of the westerly winds and the brief warmth of the clearing skies, there is no one else, no other Arcanus, just him and his friends. He knows. He knows it all well. I don't.
Sorry.
I don't know. From the forest to the cliffs to the coast, thoughts and hesitation draws out time to infinity. Zima looks out at the rising sun from the end of the long, empty dock. A distant semicircle, a fire held in the hands of the night, splitting sea from the sky. It is bright enough to scorch the eye, or at least enough to make them sting. Everything feels small before this vast horizon. To be continued. Part 8. Something else. Don't worry. The future isn't all doomed and gloom. The poet accepted. He completed the registration the next month. The only additional condition being that he would continue to stay on the island. After 3 months of negotiation, the Foundation retrieved the exhibited manuscripts from the authorities, but the poet never returned to take them. The original copies are currently housed in the Far East branch of the Foundation Library. Copies are also available for reference at other branches. The library.
That's awesome.
I'll go check there in a bit. She leads through to the end of the file. There's only a half blank page and a hard back cover. Scrawled in the margin in its almost impeccable signature, Zima. But before I go, there's one more thing I have to do. The sky is brightening as the morning mist clears. Platinum awning dots the beach. In the distance, a heavy barge from Amor is outlined against the shore. Magnificent, yet small, it bobs like an iceberg floating in the sea. The ship is here. Zima stands on the dock, surveying the scene as he did when he first set foot on the island. The chickadee by his ear chirps a question, and he answers, I still don't know. Perhaps I should go to the Foundation. Just like they said. There are many people like me there. I can write poems and forget all about the wilderness, fire, sickness, and hunger. I won't be bothered by those people. I'll be like heaven. It'll be like heaven. I just need to board the ship. Do you understand? The chickadee sings a poem, which fails to answer the question. A fleeting smile crosses Zima's face. You understand. But here, the sun and moon are eternal. Eternal stones, walnut shells, parchment, and all of you. The joy of heaven are too vast and too remote. Let's go back. The corridor leading to the library is as empty as it was when she left. Mr. Zima is usually here at this hour. I hope he didn't change his plans. Sonata gently knocks on the half-open door. Mr. Zima? The only response is the chirping of the chickadee. Zima is indeed here, along with the scroll of parchment and a bottle containing a strip of paper.
Huh?
That's the parchment I took out earlier. And a bottle? There's a paper inside. Is it for me? Zima gives an earnest nod.
Alright.
Okay, I'm gonna open it. Please read. Huh? Please read what? She looks up. Zima has already unfolded the parchment on the paper with its beak. Ah. Of course, a poet would present a poem. Poetry can give voice to the dead. Poetry can be a prophecy or simply an expression of one's thought and emotions. In 100 feet of snow, a dead branch of quail will be significant. To write about the moon's passage both night and day. To write about the frosted needles caught in treetops, the sound of the wind. To write about the nothingness of night and the all-embracing sea. They light a bonfire, crackling, flickering. And before the fire leaves their eyes, they sing. What do you see? The rocks do not reply. But a young voice says, humanity. Zima's small, distinct black claws marks our steps on the corner of the parchment. A budding sprout, a branchling vein of a leaf. The two signatures form a journey they had never taken. So that's his story. Zima's story.